Close your eyes. Focus. Listen to work getting done with Monday.com. Relax as AI does the manual work, while your teams are aligned on a single source of truth. Feel the sensation of an AI work platform, so flexible and intuitive, it feels like it was built just for you. Notice you're limitless. Now open your eyes, go to Monday.com, start for free, and finally, breathe.
Welcome to the No Guilt Mom podcast. I am your host, Joanne Crone. Oh my gosh, we have such an exciting topic for you today. I'm a little bit of a nerd when it comes to this subject. So let me bring you in to this fold. Many moms, probably yourself included, you feel burnt out, you're emotionally exhausted, and you're quietly assuming that means you're failing. You are not failing. You are capable. You are organized. You are deeply invested. But motherhood probably still feels a bit heavy. And that heaviness always shows up as guilt. Guilt for being tired, guilt for wanting space, guilt for not enjoying every little bit of motherhood the way you think you should. But what if this guilt you find isn't really a personal failure, but it's more of a belief issue? Many moms are living by these internal roles that they were taught and they never questioned. And when your beliefs go unseen, you quietly turn that normal stress into shame, which does nobody any good. And today we're going to be unpacking those beliefs that moms were taught in the past that somehow helped them, but they're also keeping you in a point of stress. We're going to talk about why you might be interpreting your struggle as failure, walk you through these specific beliefs that you have that quietly fuel your mom guilt and your emotional exhaustion. And finally, we're going to look at what shifts when those beliefs are updated. So if you've ever wondered why motherhood feels so hard and you're blaming yourself, stay tuned because we're going to help you unpack everything. And to do that today, we're joined by Josh Davis. Josh is a dad of 3, a cognitive behavioral psychologist, and co-author of the USA Today bestseller, The Difference That Makes the Difference. He's a master practitioner and trainer in NLP. This is the thing I nerd out on, which is neuro-linguistic programming, and the founder and director of the Science-Based Leadership Institute. Josh's work focuses on the science of how people actually change, not by trying harder, but by understanding the beliefs and mental models driving their reactions. Today, his passion is teaching and coaching dads to use NLP and the science of change so they can enjoy being parents, become more supportive partners, and show up as the role models that they want to be. And The Difference That Makes the Difference is his latest book. So with that, let's get on with the show. Welcome, Josh, to the podcast. I am so happy to have you here and to have somebody I can nerd out on NLP with.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's get nerdy.
Let's do it. Okay, first of all, can you describe to everyone listening out there what exactly is NLP and why is it so valuable to know as a parent?
Okay, so NLP is especially good at helping you to make changes or to help somebody else change, i.e. your kids, your partner, quickly and in a lasting way. And I know some people will hear that and just say, well, wait a second, change is hard and takes a long time, right? I know that, so this couldn't be true, right? So I would just invite you, if that's you, to are you open to believing it could be possible just for this episode? And at the end, if you're like, no, still don't believe it, fine, go back to your old beliefs. But NLP is particularly useful at that. And I think if I share just a little bit of history, can I just
definitely,
a minute and a half,
please.
say some history? It helps to explain why. Because when you know where it comes from, it's easier to believe that that this could actually be quite different. So this goes back, we're in the 1970s, 1960s at this point. There's all these brand new psychotherapies. So these are tools that come from the world of psychotherapy. People who do change work all day, every day, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, they are the masters of it. And they're every kind of change you can imagine. And so they're figuring out, how do you actually get someone to be able to make the changes they want to make? So it's the 60s, 70s. There's all these new forms of psychotherapy that are very effective. Suddenly people are getting results much more quickly, occasionally even on a single session. in stuff that had taken forever or never got anywhere in the past. It's all brand new stuff. And anyone who wants to learn it, because it was becoming very popular in psychotherapy in that world, had to just kind of try to go and observe and copy. You couldn't even tune in and watch somebody streaming because that technology didn't exist.
Didn't happen. No YouTube back then.
Right. Then along comes this linguistics professor and a partner of his, and they take their linguistics understanding, their ability to look at the patterns in language, they approach it where we're going to look for the form, not just the content. What are the patterns that these different psychotherapists are using in their language, and what patterns are they picking up on that reveal the way that people are thinking and what needs to change?
Mm-hmm.
So also they expanded to nonverbal communication too, these kinds of interaction patterns. I mean, they just did a great job at it. And they got endorsements from the people they were studying. Other people who used it, mostly psychotherapists early on, found it to be tremendously valuable. But, you know, there were other people, even in the early days, who found out about it outside of that world. Like you've probably heard of Tony Robbins. You know, he says it's the most powerful stuff he knows about. It's what he uses.
Wait, until I read your book, I didn't realize that Tony Robbins was using NLP. I didn't make that connection.
Yeah. And he's happy to say it because it's powerful, right? It's really useful. And so I've been a psychology professor at Columbia, and I have these two worlds. And in the book, in addition to trying to make it very accessible for anyone, where it's just as simple as you read about a tool, you get it, you have some reflection questions, and then you're using it because you're just reflecting and you can repeat that. But also connecting it to the science, because at this point, 50 years on, everything has been researched, but under different names. It is complex, but you can learn to start to use it simply.
Yeah, you can. And like I became a fan of NLP as soon as I started taking a class for my coach credentials. It was so misunderstood what NLP was. I thought it was like this kind of like voodoo, like trickery almost that you use with people. And the way I've seen it used and the way I've used it myself is it has helped me be so much more present with others because NLP gives me the tools, especially with my kids, of what I can be looking for in a conversation, how I can assess like what they're doing physically with their nonverbals of like posture and breath and facial expressions or their eye movements. And it's just unlocked the door to so many things. And one of the things that I love about it, which we're going to be talking a lot today, is those belief patterns you talked about, those things that unintentionally they're there, they helped us in the past, but they may be contributing to our stress in the future. One of those big beliefs that I think a lot of moms are up against is this idea of failure. That's something that I hear over and over again. Like
failure as a mom.
Failure as a mom. I feel bad as a mom. I failed my kids. I did something wrong. And you talk about there is no failure, only feedback. Why do so many parents, especially like moms, even though I know you work with dads, why do they default to seeing struggle as failure?
Yeah, I do get the opportunity to work with some moms. And then, of course, I'm married to a mom. And
yes.
Right. But yes, with dads too. But you'll see, as you're listening, does this apply to me or do I think this just applies to the dads? But so this idea, there's no failure, only feedback. So this is one of a set of beliefs that in NLP, the developers of NLP recognize that there are a set of beliefs that form this mindset that enables you to be an extraordinary change maker, whether it's for yourself or to guide others, right? And we call them the presuppositions of NLP because you're invited to presuppose it's true at all times. And when you do that, well, then you're making a claim about everything all the time, and you could never prove that. But it's really a question of, is it useful for me to show up in any context and believe this, or to remember it when I have forgotten it? One of these beliefs is there is no failure, only feedback. It's not that failure is okay or failure is a good thing or we can learn from failure. It's that failure doesn't exist. It is all feedback.
Right.
I've done something and I have learned something about whether I achieved what I wanted or I didn't, or it felt awkward, or maybe I'm learning something about my own belief system when I'm doing it. But if I were to do that, and if you can just suspend disbelief for a moment, and it's like, if I were to do that, let me think about a situation recently where I really felt like I was a failure, where I messed up, right? Or I'm not put together, or I'm not, I can't believe that Like I let myself do that with kids, or I didn't manage to take care of dinner and this other thing. And like, or I just spent the whole evening not being present, and then I
Yeah.
snapped at them.
Those are a lot of thoughts that go through
They
parents'
go, right,
minds.
right.
Yes.
Constant,
Yeah.
right? It's just like, oh, you just described
I'm like,
all day,
had
every
them,
day,
had them, had them.
just one
Yes.
after
Yes.
another of these, right?
hmm
So pick any one of them right now. And anyone listening, I invite you to do this because this is where you really experience it. You can get the idea, but if you do it yourself is when you're like, oh, okay, I get it. So
Yeah.
take one of those and just for a moment, notice what happens if you say to yourself, okay, there's no failure, only feedback. I'm just curious, Joanne, does that do anything for you in this moment?
This is something that I live by. And so when I say to myself, there's no failure, only feedback, it opens my mind to the possibilities of how I can use that feedback to either repair what I did or to go in a different direction. So instead of like the shame accumulating in me, it like I get more ideas of what I can do next.
And another way you could do it is great, is like, if there's no failure,
hmm
what would this be as feedback? If you're not ready to just fully say to yourself, there's no failure, only feedback. I have a similar reaction to what you do when I say it to myself. It's like
Yeah.
a pause, a reset, a reminder to, it just shifts my focus instead of like, do I need to find a problem with myself? All right, what do I want to do differently? It makes it a little bit easier to think about what I want, what my goal is, and how do I get there.
Definitely. Like I could think of a story last night that I did, and it didn't relate to being a mom, but I take improv classes,
Oh,
and
improv's so fun.
it's so fun, and I talk about it so much on this podcast. So, but
Practice improv because that gives you that's the same art of being curious that you need to show up with to really do NLP well.
right,
Yeah.
right, and like my cohort has been together for since like October. It's just a group of people I've been taking classes with. I know really well, and there was a new person in our cohort last night. Last night was his first day, and we also had a sub because our regular teacher was sick. And my intention was to like make this other person feel welcome, but the sub was learning all of our names, and I decided to point across the room. He's new over there. Like, this is his first time. And thinking through class, I was like, oh, as a new person, I probably shouldn't have done that. But it wasn't,
Right.
it wasn't failure. It was just like me thinking, okay, how can I repair this situation? And at the
Mhm.
next break, I publicly apologized. I'm like, Javed, I'm so sorry. This was not the correct thing to do as a new person. What I meant to say is welcome to our class. And then everybody else did as well. But I mean, it's one of those things like if I didn't have that, there's no failure, only feedback, I would have been so in my shame that.
You would have held on to it. You would have
Mhm.
missed out on the class because you just would have
Yeah.
been in your shame and you would have brought it home with you. Would you kept wondering and kept trying to change the past by rethinking it? Just like, oh, could I figure out a way? Maybe it's not what I remembered it was. And you just keep replaying it, right? But you didn't do that because instead you're like, okay, wait, there's a pathway out.
Mhm.
Maybe I'll take this as feedback. Did I get the
Right.
reaction I wanted?
Right. And I think that, tell me what you think of this, but like when you're able to shift that belief, it really helps get you out of this stress and burnout state to more being proactive and controlling your own really fate.
Yeah. I've heard you say this on other episodes, but the stress and burnout states or the shame, right? They all do something for you. They have a purpose.
Mm.
And it's because you're trying to do something, but usually it has like it has the opposite effect. It's like, oh, the shame. Well, what's that meant to you? That shame that I said, he's new, right? What's that meant for? What is
Yeah.
that supposed to get me? Well, it's probably because I want to be a good person, or when it's mom guilt, because I want to be a good mom, right? But then that guilt is actually keeping
hmm
you from being a good mom, right? And
Right.
so if you can be in
Absolutely.
touch with, oh, okay, right, thanks, emotions. I want to be a good mom. Okay, what's the feedback here? I think it becomes much easier to
Yeah.
see, okay, right, that's a nice little shift out of it. And so you
That's a
practice that
shift.
belief. You remember that that's
Yes.
a real belief. You remember it's something that you have believed at times because everybody has.
hmm
So that you know that there's some truth to it. Could it be true here too?
Yeah. Like, so once the struggle stops meaning failure, like we've talked about, like the shame loses its grip. It's no longer has the same power over you, this shame. But if you're listening to this and you're like, but I still feel overwhelmed, we're going to talk about the next beliefs you can kind of challenge right after this. Okay. Real talk. I have approximately 47,000 photos on my phone. I wish I was joking. And every year I tell myself, this is the year I'm going to do something with all of these memories. And then I don't, because who has time to sit there arranging photos into layouts for hours? Well, I finally did it. And I need to tell you about Journey Print because it was honestly so much easier than I expected. Here is what blew my mind. Their AI auto arranges your photos into this beautiful book in seconds. You upload your pictures from your phone, and their smart algorithm organizes everything by date and location. It even adds maps. So my book isn't just random photos, it's actually the story of our year. I made this year in review book, and flipping through it with my kids, seeing our trip to Paris last year, the first day of school where my daughter's a senior, and even just silly everyday moments, it hit me how fast this year went. And now we have this gorgeous, gorgeous book to hold on to because the quality is premium, like really nice satin paper. And they plant a tree for every order, which I love. Creating it took me maybe 15 minutes. That's it. No joke. Go to journeyapp.com/podcast/NGM and use code NOGUILT to get 30% off your next purchase. That's Journey spelled JOURNIAPP.com/podcast/NGM and use code NOGUILT at checkout. Hey parents, if you're like me, you might see your kids struggling with reading and ask, what's going on? Maybe you're even starting to wonder about dyslexia. You're not alone, and there is a way forward that doesn't involve yet another night of tears over homework and reading. I want to tell you about the Reading Guru. The Reading Guru offers live, one-on-one online reading tutoring with Orton Gillingham certified teachers. Orton Gillingham Reading Tutoring is backed by research. It's the gold standard for helping kids with dyslexia and other reading gaps. The Reading Guru's tutors are master literacy specialists who tailor every lesson to your child's strengths, challenges, and interests. And they don't move on until your child gets it. And because sessions are online, finding time is easy. As a former elementary school teacher, I know how beneficial it is to have kids feel confident in reading. And the Reading Guru makes it so accessible. Whether your kid has been frustrated with reading for years or you're just beginning to worry, this could be the moment that changes everything. With the right help, your kid can become a great reader. Visit readingguru.com to sign up for a free consultation because every child deserves to crack the reading code. I used to think my kids' meltdowns were just about being tired or overstimulated, but here's what I didn't know. 50% of kids suffer from hidden hunger. Even if they're eating, they might not be getting the nutrients their brains actually need to regulate emotions and focus. And listen, if you've got a picky eater who lives on chicken nuggets, I mean, haven't we all had that experience? You're probably dealing with big emotions and meltdowns that feel never ending. That's why I'm obsessed with First Day Daily multivitamins. They're designed specifically to fill those nutrient gaps, and they work for the whole family. I take the women's multivitamin, and honestly, they're so tasty, which really, really matters to me because if a vitamin doesn't taste good, I forget to take it. But First Day, I actually look forward to it. What I also love is how transparent they are. No added sugar, no artificial dyes or crushed bones. Yes, that's a thing. Just 9 essential vitamins and a blend of 12 organic fruits and veggies. It's like sneaking in 1.5 cups of spinach and 5 cups of broccoli into 2 gummies. Plus, they're age specific because a toddler's needs aren't the same as a teen's or yours. For a limited time, our listeners get up to 57% off and a free gift with code NGM at firstday.com. That's up to 57% off with code NGM at firstday.com. And please tell them No Guilt Mom sent you. Now, you might right now be treating your feelings like they're facts, and looking at your overwhelm, it may become something that becomes evidence that you're behind or you're doing something wrong. And I think that we could shift that for you because, Josh, you teach that how we experience the world isn't the same as realities. How can that help overwhelm moms who feel constantly behind or like they're doing something wrong?
Okay. When you feel constantly behind or like you're doing something wrong, some people might bristle at this at first, but just hear me out. You are not reacting to the world. You
Mm,
are reacting to your reality. You're reacting
mhm,
to how you are understanding the world.
mhm.
And at first, it might feel like, wait, are you blaming me? What I'm doing is trying to point you towards how you have a lot more control than you may realize. And it's not to try to tell yourself things that aren't true. It's to recognize that there isn't like just some objective world out there. We're always showing up to every situation with beliefs. What am I capable of? What causes what? What's my role? What would be
Mhm.
appropriate? And according to whom, right? We're showing up with capabilities. I'm good at this kind of thing, at being organized, but I'm not good at dealing with overwhelm, right? Which is also a belief.
Yeah.
We're showing up with identities, right? I'm a terrible mom or I'm a great mom, right? And by the way, it doesn't just have to be one of those two. And there can be other ones, but also what you're calling a terrible mom can also be a great mom, right?
Mhm.
So we've got these identities, these beliefs, these capabilities. We have like certain behaviors that we are good at or that we tend to do. We have things that we're capable of. We have triggers. We have all of these things. We have pictures in our heads which guide
Yes.
how we're interacting, right? If I'm, imagining, seeing in my mind my kid being like kind of ungrateful and belligerent, then I'm going to react differently. But if
Right.
I have a different picture in my mind of my kid where they're, maybe at a different age or maybe where there's just a different moment where they're really being flexible and open with me, I'm going to show up differently and I can choose which picture. So you're reacting to the reality of all of those things, right?
Mhm.
That's what dictates what's possible is that world. And
Yeah.
so this, I think, is the essence of everything in NLP. What makes it work all boils down to this. It's all kind of built into that belief that you just mentioned.
The map is not the territory.
The
Is what
map is
is
not
the
the territory.
territory.
Exactly. Whenever there's something that you're doing that you want to change, whether it's the guilt or the shame or new behaviors, or maybe you're thinking about what you do want instead,
Mhm.
right? I want to be this amazing mom or this amazing dad and enjoy it and do these other things in my life, right? When you're thinking about what you want to change, there is a world in which it makes really good sense to not change.
Mm.
There is a mental world. And that's true for other people, for your kids. I want my kid to get out of the door earlier and like in the morning. Like, come on, why does this say? There is a
Yeah.
world in which it makes sense, in which that is the best way to go.
Yeah.
That mental model, that world. And when you can take that to heart and then choose to step into that world, that's when you can find the difference that will make the difference for them.
Yeah, it's so interesting you say this because like the biggest example I can see for this in my own life is just an interaction with one of my friends where both of us could get the same email from the same person. And my friend would interpret it as, oh my gosh, this person is being so mean and so like belligerent and totally thinks the worst of me and is blaming me for everything. While I look at the same email and I'm like, oh, they're just giving some information and some facts about it. And they just want some facts back. And it totally came down to the different ways we saw the world. When you're talking with somebody like that, and I found it was so hard to get this friend on the same belief structure I had about these emails because they saw the world in a very different way than I did. They had a very different mental model and belief system where they would become triggered, but I would not become triggered. And I think I see this with my kids too, where they think something's embarrassing. And I'm like, this is just you putting yourself out there. How do you go about that change in beliefs not just in yourself, but maybe when you have someone else, like your child or a friend.
Yeah. Well, so great examples. And I was just thinking it's a really good time for some examples too. So those were nice. With a kid, first of all, how does it go when you try to say to them, that's not a big deal?
Oh, it's awful. Mom, you don't understand. You're not a kid in 2026.
Right.
Yeah.
Mom, you don't understand. That's what you've communicated,
Mm-hmm.
right? I don't understand. And when somebody communicates to you, I don't understand, are you open to hearing what they have to say?
No, absolutely not.
Do you think that they could, even if they had your best interests at heart, could help you if they don't understand?
Mm-mm.
Right?
No.
No, of course not. And so that's true for kids and adults, right? That we have to earn the right to influence. And one of the most important things we can do, no matter how much history you have with someone, every interaction, you have to earn the right to influence because the context is always different.
This is such a big line that I want to emphasize. You have to earn the right to influence. I think that's huge.
Yeah, that's right. And if you take that as one of your goals, okay, I really want to earn the right to influence here. So my kid says, no, I can't do that. That would be embarrassing. So rather than trying to explain why it's not embarrassing, a better thing for me to do is to get into, okay, what is the world in which this makes sense?
Mm.
And sometimes I can just imagine and make some good guesses. And then I can try some stuff out. It's just like, okay, it matters a lot at your age to show that what's cool and what everyone else is doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm thinking about that. But then I might realize I'm stuck on something. There's something I don't understand here.
Mm.
And this is kind of at the heart of NLP too, is just like being aware that you don't understand something and asking questions, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
because my reality is not the same as your reality.
Mm-hmm.
And if you take that to heart, then you're going to try to figure out the other person's reality. So I can
Yeah.
try to get into your head and imagine, and sometimes I can do a great job, but sometimes I'm like, it still doesn't make sense to me. It's like, yeah, you know that, but you've told me that you also like being different, and that makes what makes you cool, right? And I
Right.
also know that you like being responsible, and worrying too much about these things, isn't responsible. That's just like caving in to peer pressure. And I think you've even told me you don't even like that style, right? So I'm confused here. Like,
Mm-hmm.
help me understand. But now I've just articulated these things and I can check in. Is this true? Right. And the kid be like, yeah, no, actually, I do like that style now. Right. But you're right. No, like I don't need to do everything they do. But what I've done is now I've just exposed and tried to understand the mental model in which it made sense, the reality in which it made sense for her to say, like, I can't do that.
Mm.
And now she's ready to go and make these changes, or she's more open to me doing it because I get it. Because if I understand her, then I'm someone who can be trusted on this topic in this moment.
Right. So it's not so much as just like validating the emotions on top. It's like I could tell, like, oh my gosh, you're embarrassed. It's a horrible feeling to have. But
That's
really,
just one way of letting them know you understand.
it's just one
Yeah.
way. And then going deeper with the taking things that they've said in the past, things that you know are true about them, and trying to reconcile that first in your mind and then asking them for help. Like, so tell me, like, help me understand like how this is different. Do I have that right?
Yeah. Yeah. And checking in. Like, am I right that you also don't really even like that style? Right.
Mhm.
Like, just checking in, like, because you don't actually know. And remembering, I don't know, and your reality is different from mine. So
Yeah.
what I really want to do, my aim as a parent here is to understand your reality, not to give into it, not to agree that it's the only reality, not to say, therefore, I don't have boundaries. And of course I do, but it's
Mm.
going to be easier. And you can even ask this question of yourselves right now as a parent. How will it be easier for you to set boundaries when you take this approach of trying to understand their reality?
Dig more into that. How would it be easier? Like, how does boundaries relate to that when you're trying to
Okay.
understand
Well,
your kid's
maybe I want to
reality or
tell my
yourself?
kid, I'm sorry, you can't wear that when
Yeah.
you go to the mall, right?
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
just not appropriate,
Mhm.
right? Okay. So if I then try to understand, okay, well, really want to get into your head and understand why is it so critical to wear this when you're going to the mall, right? And I'm not just saying you can't. So I'm earning the right to influence, right?
Mhm.
Which then makes anyone more open to reciprocating, but at least talking to me about it.
Mhm.
Then I can get to a place where I can validate the feelings that may be there and maybe explore some other feelings, right?
Right.
So I'm in a place now where we can have a conversation about this, and I'm probably more likely to be heard when I say, look, it's important to me that you show up in something that is less revealing, right? Or whatever the issue is that the dress code that you may have in mind. I personally, at the age of my kids, I haven't run into dress code issues yet. And so I'm making this one up, right? But I know that many people have. But you're more likely to be heard by your kid about what matters to you if you've heard them and you've met them where they are.
Right. I could see how that would work, especially with the dress code thing, because you're not making the assumptions. And I know just from personal experience that when I don't feel understood by somebody else, I will be the most obstinate and stubborn person like you have ever met. I mean, one of my things was like, you can't tell me what to do, because that's just how I personally react. And I see that in my kids too, and see that in other people. And so this is such a good reminder that not everyone is operating on the same reality. And when we stop and question, and try to figure out what reality somebody else has, that's when we earn the right to influence them.
And there is a reality in which their behavior makes sense.
Yes.
In which it's the right thing to do. There is a reality in which there is, which doesn't mean you agree with that and you accept the outcome. But when you understand that, you earn that right to influence.
Yeah.
If you try to deny it, they have to prove it, because they're like, no, if I have to agree with you and you're telling me my reality is wrong, I have to admit that I'm crazy or stupid.
Okay.
I don't want to do that.
Right.
That doesn't feel good.
Right. I can totally see that. And I can also see how this can lead us to be a little bit more self-compassionate about ourselves, because the reason that maybe moms right now out there who are listening feel overwhelmed, our reality of overwhelm makes some sense to us. There's a reason we see it that way, whereas someone else wouldn't see it that way. And to give ourselves that compassion and even that questioning of ourselves, of why we're doing things the way we're doing. And I love this presupposition of NLP. And coming up next, if you have ever felt as a mom that you just need the right system, you're not going to want to miss it. And we're going to get to that coming up. For years, I avoided tracking my spending because every time I looked at where my money went, all I felt was shame. Why did I spend that much on groceries? I shouldn't have bought that. It was like a highlight reel of all my worst financial decisions. And that shame, it kept me stuck. I couldn't make any real progress toward my goals because I was too busy beating myself up about the past. Set yourself up for financial success this year. Monarch is the all-in-one personal finance tool designed to make your life easier. It brings your entire financial life, budgeting, accounts, and investments, net worth, and future planning together in one dashboard on your phone or laptop. Feel aware and in control of your finances this year and get 50% off your Monarch subscription with code NOGUILT. What changed everything for me was finding a tool that keeps me focused on where I'm going, not where I've been. Monarch shows me my savings goals, my debt payoff timeline, my whole financial picture in one place. So instead of dwelling on last month's mistakes, I'm actually planning ahead and watching myself get closer to real milestones. No shame, just progress. Set yourself up for financial success in 2026 with Monarch, the all-in-one tool that makes proactive money management simple all year long. Use code NOGUILT at monarch.com for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code NOGUILT.
This podcast is supported by MIDI Health. Are you in midlife, feeling dismissed, unheard, or just plain tired of the old healthcare system? You're not alone. In fact, even today, 75% of women seeking care for menopause and perimenopause issues are left entirely untreated. But it's time for a change. It's time for MIDI. MIDI's not just a healthcare provider. It's a women's telehealth clinic founded and supported by world-class leaders in women's health. Their clinicians provide one-on-one, face-to-face consultations where they truly listen to your unique needs. They offer a full range of holistic, data-driven solutions that isn't one-size-fits-all care. This is care uniquely tailored for you. At MIDI, you will find that their mission is clear: to help all women thrive in midlife, giving them access to the healthcare they deserve. Because they believe midlife isn't the middle at all. It is the beginning. of your second act. Ready to feel your best and write your second act script? Visit joinmidi.com today to book your personalized, insurance-covered virtual visit. That's joinmidi.com. Midi, the care women deserve.
Many capable moms right now, and you are one of them, outsource your confidence. You think that you just need the right system, or you need to get organized in your home, or you need the right script that will fix like how hard certain things feel. And when your communication with like your kids, with your coworkers, with your family, when it doesn't land, you tend to turn the blame inward. Now, one of the great things, the presuppositions of NLP, is that, Josh, all the resources I need are already within me. Can you say how that helps when we think we're just looking for the next thing that will help us, the next trick?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all the resources I need are already within me. So I would assume that some people hearing this are saying, okay, hold on, right? Wait a second. Obviously, they're not, because then wouldn't I be doing it already? Wouldn't I be already better off? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but you always have the ability to take the next step,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So I'm capable, even if right now, I'm beating myself up and I feel like I don't deserve to grow or learn or go have a good time or whatever, right? I have the ability to grow and learn. I have at some point in my life felt confident, right? I have the ability to have that state is within me. The ability to start to question a belief is within me. I always have the ability to take the next step. And if I always have the ability to take the next step, I necessarily have the ability to do anything that anyone in this world can do. I mean, there's some physical limitations, right? I'm
Yeah.
not going to be like, at this age and with my background, I'm not going to be an Olympic, figure skater,
I'm not
right?
going to break the 2-hour marathon time ever.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And I also don't have the interest in trying to break the marathon record,
No.
right? But when we're talking to just about anything that has to do with how people behave, think, feel, interact day to day, like all the cognitive skills, there really is, you'd be very hard pressed to find a limitation, right?
Mm.
We all have these capabilities, but there's something based on our particular reality that gets in the way,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So, for years I wanted to start my own business, but I kept on not believing that somehow that it would work enough. So I would keep my foot in halfway in, halfway out, working at a company, but trying things on the side,
Right.
and then eventually I learned ways to, approach things differently where I'm really like, no, I do. I'm ready to believe myself. But there was a belief there. That was the thing that's way. Anyone from the outside would say, well, of course, you've got all these great resources and this great resume. And, I enjoy doing interviews and I teach classes, things like the content wise, it made sense. Everything that people from the outside would tell me frequently, like, you should do this. It'd be great. Right.
Yeah.
There was a belief in the way. And to shift that belief, there were a number of things that happened over time. But we have the resources. It's just identifying what'll be essentially what's the difference that's going to make the difference for me in my particular context, right? And so having
Yeah.
the tools to do that.
It's interesting that you bring that up because there have been beliefs in my way throughout my life that have stopped me from doing something that I then achieved. One of the beliefs was like, oh, I can't write a book. I can't sit down that much. I wouldn't have anything to say for a whole book. Like, how would I write that? And the thing that I found that changed that belief in me was first that decision just to sit down and like do it. But it must be more complicated than that. And I don't think I'm aware of my own thought patterns that led me to doing that thing. So, like, when you talk about starting your own business, what things did you have to change that you thought about to actually take you from, no, I can't do it to, oh, okay, I'm doing it?
Well, there have been many changes, incremental ones, but my experience has largely been that when I make the change one day, then I've made the change, right? And then because we really found what matters until the context shifts, then you got to make another change, right?
Yeah.
But so an example would be, my youngest is 3, and so he's learning language, and he'll just kind of bust out with sentences that are not grammatical, but he manages to communicate. It's like, you know, my pants are running too fast, right? Or something like that. And it's like, okay, right. I think I get what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
And he's totally fine with it. He's trying it out. And he's like, okay, cool. I managed to communicate something, right? And he's not then going back and beating himself up saying it wasn't perfect the first time.
Mm.
And one of the things that I've done is to kind of see that sort of joy in the fact that each time he does that, he's learning something. I
Mhm.
said, okay, let me see what happens if I apply that in this context. And so what I needed to do in many cases was to frame things as an experiment and not commit saying I'm going to do this
Mm.
forever or this is the thing forever. But that
Mhm.
it actually was much nicer for me because I'm someone who likes to know the future and likes to plan and likes to, right? So for
Yeah.
me, finding a way where whatever the new task is, whether it's figuring out how to hire someone for social media or, what's going to be the right marketing strategy, or do I choose to focus completely in one area and do B2C or just focus on businesses, right? So these kinds of things, each time, like framing it as an experiment has been key for me, knowing myself and knowing
Mm.
the kinds of things, my values and the meaning I'll make out of it otherwise.
Right.
It's like, oh, let's see what happens. This is going to be my chance to. Another thing that has been a key one is shifting from if someone or something is very different, then it feels uncomfortable, to if someone or something is very different, then there's the most to learn.
Oh yeah. I love that one. That's one of my like core beliefs. I'm like, if I don't feel like I am going to throw up about the task, it's not worth pursuing because it's just like that uneasiness feeling I associate with the most change now.
Hmm.
And it also normalizes it. And I also love what you're saying about the incremental nature of change. Like you're not looking at it as one big task that you're committing to. You're just like, let's try this today. Let's try this tomorrow. That's how I have actually gone through some of my biggest endeavors looking back at it. Like when I first decided to run a marathon, like in my 20s, I was not a runner. I'd never been a runner. And all I did was just commit to showing up for the day. And I'm like, I'll just go and I'll try this and we'll see how it goes. Okay, that was hard. Okay, the next day, I'm just going to go and try this and see how it goes. And I went from not being able to run for like 5 minutes to then running 30 minutes to then running 8 miles nonstop in my first marathon because it focused on those incremental things instead of looking at the big picture.
You're reminding me, a lot of it comes down to how we choose to evaluate ourselves.
Mm.
And many people don't know this, but unconsciously you've chosen a way to evaluate yourself, whether you've consciously chosen it or not.
Mm.
And some of the evidence is that after something happens, you feel like a failure. Like,
Yeah.
why? Right?
Hmm.
How are you evaluating that? A more kind of obvious one is if you've ever done any public speaking or done a presentation or led something, then people afterwards, how did it go? Right? They haven't really consciously thought very much about how they want it to go or how they want to evaluate it. It's just like, oh, it was terrible. Somebody was looking at their phone the whole time. Right. Okay.
Oh,
Well, was that your goal, to have nobody looking at the phone the whole time? But you can choose ahead of time. What do I want to get out of this particular thing that I'm doing? Right? What
right.
is it that I want for me that's within my control? Because if it's not in your control, you can want it and it's a great target, but don't evaluate yourself based on that.
I have a little bit of PTSD from my teacher evaluations, actually, when I used to be an elementary school teacher. They used to evaluate us based on how much the class was engaged. That was
Uh,
like not really anything within our control. Like we
it's
could
not
try the
in your
best we could,
control.
but it wasn't
And it
totally in our
feels so
control.
unfair. And even in a contest like that where someone else is doing it,
Yeah.
right? So it's right in your face. You have to fight it. But still, in that context, you can choose to say, all right, well, what's within my control in terms of this? I can control how I show up with the students, whether I'm attentive. I can control whether I talk to some of the evaluators and explore how they interpret these things, and the weight that they put on this kind of measure. Like on this podcast right now, I actually
Mhm.
take a moment before I do a podcast or teaching a class, and I think about what do I want to get out of this for myself, which
Oh.
we often forget to do, right?
When coming into this podcast, what did you want to get out of it yourself?
I, in this case, wanted to practice the skill of thinking about whatever questions you gave me and looking for how they could make the most sense.
Oh, that's a great thing that you have control over.
I have control over that. And it's something I enjoy doing. And it's a skill that I do it when I'm teaching, but I haven't brought it into podcasting as much yet. So I wanted to practice bringing that in. That was like my number one thing today.
I'm sorry. I'm going in deep. This is what I do. How do you feel like you achieved it? Like yourself, your own evaluation?
I think I've done a pretty good job of, in terms of my state and my focus doing that. I think there's been a couple of times where my answers didn't pull out the most that I could have, but then you picked it up and ran with it. So, so obviously it was enough. But yeah, so I'm like, I think if I just continue with the same, show up with the same focus and mental state when you're asking questions or responding, then, we're on a good track.
We're co-creating. That's a thing like I've learned in improv that I now try to bring to the podcast, because I used to get so nervous about like asking the right questions and looking like I prepared enough and all of those things. And now I come into it being like, there are two people creating this episode, and you can rely on your partner to fill in the gaps that you don't. And that's always like the best experience in my book.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Josh, this has been fantastic. And for those of you listening, we dived into like two big beliefs. First, the belief that, the map is not the territory. Your reality isn't the same as other people's reality. So to actually like earn the right to influence and figure out someone else's reality. And then the second one we dived into was that the resources are already inside you. You don't need the next big thing. You just need to know how to make it work for you. We talked about that incremental change, putting things in little pieces and deciding like what makes you successful, defining your own version of success. Josh, where should people go to find out more about you?
All right. Well, for those of you who are dads, then joshdavisphd.com/dads. For those of you who know a dad or maybe a partner of a dad, then have a look at it. See if you want to tell them about it. So joshdavisphd.com/dads. You'll find on the website, there's actually some fun tools to you where you can ask the book. It's an AI where you can just ask questions directly of the book if I'm not available. And my co-author, Greg, put that together. I use it. But yeah, so please come and reach out.
Awesome. Well, this has been phenomenal. Thank you for being here to nerd out on NLP and give me more insight into it as well. And for everyone out there, remember, the best mom is a happy mom. Take care of you, and I'll talk with you later. If you'd like to support the show further, you can share episodes with your loved ones, leave a positive review, or follow us on social media at No Guilt Mom. You could also show your love by visiting our amazing podcast sponsors. We have a link in the show notes.
This podcast is supported by MIDI Health. Are you in midlife, feeling dismissed, unheard, or just plain tired of the old healthcare system? You're not alone. In fact, even today, 75% of women seeking care for menopause and perimenopause issues are left entirely untreated. But it's time for a change. It's time for MIDI. MIDI's not just a healthcare provider. It's a women's telehealth clinic founded and supported by world-class leaders in women's health. Their clinicians provide one-on-one, face-to-face consultations where they truly listen to your unique needs. They offer a full range of holistic, data-driven solutions that isn't one-size-fits-all care. This is care uniquely tailored for you. At MIDI, you will find that their mission is clear: to help all women thrive in midlife, giving them access to the healthcare they deserve. Because they believe midlife isn't the middle at all. It is the beginning of your second act. Ready to feel your best and write your second act script? Visit joinmidi.com today to book your personalized, insurance-covered virtual visit. That's joinmidi.com. MIDI, the care women deserve.